everybody out there that forgive me on that one. But I'd like, it does celebrate 9 individuals that really made a serious attempt at keeping the water for the city of Weed from Bond Springs. I would say that with enough pressure, I would say it was successful. There were different conditions that I'll leave alone, but I would like to thank the people that are no longer with us and maybe their families. One is Dave Pierce, the second is Jim Gabetta, and the third is Mike Yates. Those still with us are Robert Hall, Monica Zinda, Ray Strack, Bruce Shoemaker, Jim Taylor, and Mary Jackson. And I think without their efforts, we'd be paying a lot more for water than we think. So I just wanted to say thank you to those folks. That's it.
All right. Well, I attended and was part of the Weed Steampunk and Sci-Fi Festival. So big thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Weed for all their efforts in making that a successful event. Everybody there had a good time and there were no incidents. And that was all I have for the last month. I would like to encourage people to come out to Weed Carnivale coming up in July. That's going to be the next big one that we have here in town. So, all right, now moving on to the consent agenda. So our first item by motion, council will consider second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 484, 2025, amending the Weed Municipal Code, sections 1808-035, 1808-197, 1808-260, 1808-350, 1808-445, 1808-496, 1808-497, and chapter 1808 of the Weed Municipal Code and the City of Weed zoning district regulations to regulate extended hotel stays. The next item on the consent agenda by motion, council will consider second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 45, 2025, designated fire hazard severity zones as recommended by the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Third item by motion, council will consider adopting amended resolution number 13, 2025 regarding the surplus of the 2014 International Ambulance for sale. Item D by motion, council will consider approving resolution number 16, 2025, approving additional license for off-sale alcoholic beverages at 292 East Vista Drive. Item E by motion, council will consider approving resolution number 17, 2025, approving the city manager to enter into the contract for special services with the Shasta Valley Resource Conservation District. Item F by motion, council will consider approving staff to release a request for proposal for a complete tear off and replacement of the city hall flat roof and internal gutter system. Item G by motion, council will consider approving minutes from May 8th, 2025 regular and special meetings and June 3rd, 2025 special meeting. Item H by motion, council will consider approving payment warrants dated May 20th, 2025, including any voided warrants and manual issued items totaling $509,202.88. And item E by motion, council will consider approving and filing the month-end report for May of 2025. Are there any items that the council would like to remove from consent?
None from, if I don't, you don't hear any, so I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
In regard to B, the second reading of ordinance 485-2025. If I was going to make a request to table, would I do it now?
Yes, if you want to remove the item from consent to move it to regular business, this would be the time.
Yeah, you need to remove it first.
That would be my request.
Okay.
So you want to make a friendly amendment to my motion?
Yes. Friendly amendment to remove item B from.
We've learned something over the year. Anyway.
Well,
Is that okay, David?
Yeah, as long as the person who seconded, Councilmember Mazzoni, is okay with the friendly amendment.
Yeah, if we're gonna discuss it.
Yeah, so the motion is now to approve the consent agenda absent
Item B.
item.
Just this will just be moved on to.
Move on to, yeah, we'll move on to the regular business. All right,
And
all
any
in,
public comment?
do we have any public comments on the removal from the consent agenda?
So this would be public comment on anything on the consent
Well-
agenda, not including B.
Any public comments on anything on the consent agenda, not including B? No? All right, all in favor of accepting consent with the removal of item B?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll now move on to council business. We'll start with item A, Measure O Committee. By a motion,
Oh, actually, item 7 requires that items removed from the consent agenda be discussed at this point. So
okay,
we would now take up the matter
B.
of the ordinance regarding the fire hazard severity map.
all right. Well, let's move on to removal item B then.
My request would be from David, what is the recourse in the government code for the city not adopting this at this point in time?
What is the recourse for the city?
No, for,
You mean, what is the legal risk if we don't adopt it?
yes,
I presume that someone could bring a writ of mandate in the Superior Court to compel the city to perform a mandatory duty that the state has set for the city, which is to adopt the map by ordinance. And we would have to pay the attorney's fees of the petitioner. I imagine that's about all. I don't believe there's anything else in the statute that imposes some type of monetary penalty for the failure to adopt. But regardless, I believe that the state law is gonna preempt local law in this area. So much like building codes, even if a city forgets to adopt the updated building code, the updated building code is still gonna be the applicable building code. So
and right now there's no time requirement that this has to be passed, correct?
no, there is a time requirement. I think it's 90 days. I don't know off the top of my head. Assistant Chief Carter, do you know what the? I think it was
Yeah,
90 days
it's
and it
90.
started like in January, our clock. So I think we're already actually late.
Okay. I just know that there's other jurisdictions who are also looking into what this may do for insurance for people's within their either county or their city. And I think there's a lot of questions still on the table, even from our own fire department, as much as we've tried to do the investigation. I'm not sure what benefit it is to the city for us to go ahead and adopt this at this point, without seeing what other jurisdictions are doing in comparison. And what I am highly concerned about is I do believe it's a flawed study based on what we've received. I'm highly concerned that the mill fire is one of the things that's being considered in designating the way that they've designated within the city of Weed. It was not a wildfire. And quite frankly, I think we would be doing a disservice to the people of the city of Weed by designating this as a high-risk area and allowing insurance companies to rely on that. If somebody wants to take a writ of mandate, I think that it would be interesting. I don't foresee any benefit from the community that we've been receiving. I think we already received a report that we would still receive the grant money for the fire mitigation, regardless of what we do with this. So at this point, I don't see any benefit, and I could see potential harm, and there's areas that we haven't explored.
With that, I would like to ask the fire chief if that was accurate, because I don't know, so. In
If-
other words, does it impact our fire mitigation efforts?
With the grant that we received,
Mhm.
as far as I know, there's nothing in the grant that says you can only receive this money if you accept
Okay,
the fire hazard severity zone. This updated map came out after we received the grant. But I can look more into my grant documentation here. But as far as I know, there's nothing that says you must accept the updated fire hazard severity map to receive funding.
Yeah, and it sounds like, and it's an unknown as to whether or not it would affect future grants. It's just clarification we don't have.
The question is, didn't Oregon pass similar laws and their response was for their legislature, pressure on the legislature to kind of withdraw those mappings? Does anybody know?
I
you-
do
you
not
remember
follow
up there in Oregon?
politics.
I did hear that they came out with maps and then later on they took them away or at least changed them to some extent. I'm not sure how closely related they were to how CAL FIRE did these ones. But it definitely sounds like there was some concerns, similar to the concerns we have down here in Oregon as well.
So could we direct, is there a way for you to find out, Brian,
Find out what
how the procedure was handled up in Oregon?
I can research it. Yeah.
Would, I mean, whether we accept it or not, one of my opinions is insurance has already taken another level up, so
Mhm.
that cat's kind of gone out of the bag already, but if we can get our legislators to act, and I don't know how Oregon handled theirs, and even if they handled it, was it impactful and effective? That's my biggest concern, because I think this is, my personal opinion is that insurance companies are moving forward with rate increases no matter what we
They've
do.
already done that.
Yeah,
They've already done that.
well, they're doing more, I will tell you that, but I'm just saying if we can do battle, but if that isn't ineffective or doesn't impact us at all, I don't know. So that was my
So-
guess.
David, my understanding is that the state has already adopted these maps and that they're requiring cities to, under state law, to adopt them as well. Is there any advantage to not adopting this other than we end up with legal fees going to the courts? I mean, do we have a leg to stand on here?
I don't know what legal difference it would make if we didn't adopt it. I think that from what I gather, and I haven't researched the entire legislative history of this measure, it seems to me that the reason the legislature wants cities to adopt these local maps is to provide information to the public. I mean, they're asking, there's notice requirements that it be posted on our website. The fact that it's an ordinance requires 2 readings, so there's additional notice to the public. That's my understanding of why they want, why the legislature, that's their intent, is that this information just be shared with the public.
I suppose my biggest concern is that if we are designating the entire city of Weed as an extreme hazard, not so much insurance rates increasing, but insurance companies saying anybody who has a map that's adopted that's an extreme zone, we won't write policies. Which means then all of our buildings are on California Fair Plan, which I can say is not fair based on what I know of the rates. So I'm trying to think of a circumstance why a individual would take a writ of mandate, knowing that this is a protection to their ability to get insurance for their home. I think everyone here, I mean, you can drive around the city and you know that there's a fire issue. I mean, we got Lincoln Heights, we're still rebuilding from the Bowles fire. I mean, there's evidence everywhere. Our power goes out because they're worried about fire. So I hear, Mr. Mayor, your concerns about the legal issue and I'm not saying that I wouldn't accept it. I feel like there's more information to gather and more information from other jurisdictions on what they're doing before I'd be comfortable adopting this.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, just to augment my initial answer, I hadn't thought about the grant issue, but I do think that's another there could be risk there in terms of state grant money. I don't have any information that's happened, but it is something to consider.
I believe there's still ongoing meetings, is right, Brian? Is there
Regarding
still
what?
ongoing meetings regarding the wildfire mapping and all of that? As far as explaining in detail and repercussions?
Not that I'm aware of,
Okay.
maybe internally, but nothing that I've been made aware of.
Okay,
I was given just the information that I discussed at the last meeting from the unit chief here. And that was basically all the information he had, were those documents that I showed you guys last meeting.
and so this is just our area that's painted in red, but this also extends all the way through Wairika Happy Camp, am I?
I haven't looked at Wairika or Happy Camp, but I know most of Mount Shasta is also in red and all of the city of Dunsmuir is as well. And the city of Dunsmuir, I believe, accepted the ordinance with the new map.
And the county has not adopted, correct?
The county would fall under SRA,
Right.
which would be state responsibility area, which is where CAL FIRE responds. And a lot of the county area has already been red. This, let me get back to it.
But I mean, they have
This-
not adopted the resolution to adopt their new mapping, correct?
I don't
I
know
don't
if
believe
they have to.
they did not have that requirement. So
Yeah,
the state responsibility area is everything in unincorporated areas within the state.
mhm.
And that has been under CAL FIRE jurisdiction as far as I
Yeah.
can remember.
Yep.
But they never had mapping for the local responsibility areas before.
CAL FIRE updated their maps in 2022 for their responsibility. This is for local jurisdictions.
So this is the local jurisdiction
And
responsibility.
I think if you see on the map, there's a bunch of white area. I believe that
Federal.
is for federal land,
Mhm.
yeah.
One thing from that packet from last meeting, under the frequently asked questions, it says, why haven't moderate and high fire hazard severity zone classes been classified before in the local responsibility area, which would be cities? It says new legislation, Senate Bill 63, 2021, now requires the adoption of all three fire hazard severity zone classes in the local responsibility area. Previously, only very high fire hazard severity zones were required for adoption in local responsibility areas. So that would explain why they're updating it.
Mhm. And actually, from an insurance standpoint, there is insurance companies are starting to make agreements with the insurance commissioner's office to write a limited amount in high fire risk areas. So I don't really know. I'm the first one to go in for a fight on this, but I mean, I don't know if it will be successful because you can't force the insurance companies to write. The only thing they're offering is the FAIR Plan. The FAIR Plan is a conglomerate of all the insurance companies. That FAIR Plan is collusion, in my opinion, and I don't know why nobody's approached that, but I'm not in that area, but it typically was illegal for me to go, what's State Farm's rate, what's all states rates, what everybody, and then pool them all together and go, okay, this is what we're gonna charge. The FAIR Plan is allowed to do that. So it's
Like-
kind of strange.
The concern here is that this may affect things such as insurance, but my understanding is that insurance writing is superseded by the state's map, whether we adopt this or not.
Mhm. Insurance companies are, I don't think it's hugely impactful to the insurance companies. They've already been proactive on it already, so
That they have.
it's
So what other,
horrible.
so what information do we need to get them? I mean, we're basically, to me, sounds like we're tied in with what the state is telling us what we need to do. Am I misreading that?
No, that's
It's,
So I mean, if there's, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying what further actions can we take, or what more information can we receive, and if the chief can get more in, that's one thing, but if we're tied down, I'm open to a lot of suggestions. I just want to be clear on what we're going.
if we table it, what direction would you like us to go?
I would like to know what other jurisdictions are doing and if they're adopting this. And in jurisdictions that have adopted it, whether or not they've seen any negative impacts to their community based on the adoption of the map.
And who do we have to send to go do that, though? That would be,
Well, I've been in discussions with other communities and I'd continue those discussions. I think right now it's the great unknown, and sitting up here as a city council member for Weed, I look at what is going to benefit our community by us adopting this. And short of the potential legal issue of filing against us, which I think tabling it and allowing us to have time to look at the other jurisdictions, necessarily a writ of mandate wouldn't happen immediately. And my guess is that any court is going to say you have to give them enough time to make a decision on what they're going to do. So I really don't think that there is a threat of legal action right now. And I see zero benefit to the community with a lot of unknown. And so I kind of stand at, we don't have enough information and I'd like some time to see what jurisdictions do.
we can table it. I mean, I don't think this hurts anybody since we're already late.
Say it too loud.
All right, well, we've got a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Do you want that, does that motion include direction to staff to do some research? And if so, what would that be? Or is that research that the council is conducting on its own?
I'm happy to undertake that. I know our staff is
I'd like-
extremely taxed.
Keep the, I mean, that's who our taxes, so. If
If-
there's any more information you can gather, chief on it, then I would appreciate it.
Or any communication amongst other fire captains and what they've seen, and if there's any repercussions, or if they've heard there's any repercussions, and inquiry into Oregon. I think that might be of interest, and I'll take on the laboring or from the local jurisdictions and find out what they're doing.
So we have a motion then to table with direction to staff. Was there a second, Mr. Mayor, on that?
We don't have a second yet. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion.
Do we have to do some public comment, I believe?
Okay, any public comments on the item? We actually have public tonight and they're oddly silent. Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to table item B for the fire map jurisdictions. All right, our next item is a public hearing. The city council will hold a public hearing to consider the review of the community development block grant, eligible activities, and collect residents' views on housing and community development needs. Our proposed project is the Bulls Creek Stormwater Improvement Project. So now we'll go on to our staff report.
Yes, council, tonight we have Brandy from Great Northern to give a presentation. We are looking to apply for some funding for the Bulls Creek stormwater. We do have a bottleneck there on Main Street that has caused flooding for years over there by the old Leschwall building. And we're looking to go ahead and make those improvements and hopefully get that squared away.
All right, well, we'll now open the public hearing and we'll hear a presentation from the consultant.
Hello, I'm Brandy Caparasso from Great Northern Services, Community Development Director. Not director, I'm a manager. So the public hearing, HCD and CDBG HUD requires a public hearing and public meetings to let residents and citizens know about regarding their views about the grants that the community would like for the city to submit. So this is their opportunity to voice those opinions. The following information that is in here is from the 2025-2029 Federal Consolidated Plan from HCD to HUD. We did hear this week that HUD had no comments and that it was accepted. However, we can't, we need to make sure that we're keeping this in the back of our mind. If the 2025 NOFA comes out and it's different than this, it's different. The NOFA has not been issued yet. This is what we believe it's going to be because it was in the consolidated plan. The amount of funds that we believe are going to be available for the jurisdictions is about 3.4 million. No, that's a little bit higher than that. 34 million, sorry. It's not on here. So the jurisdictions, especially Weed, can apply for almost any of what can be submitted for an application. So planning, which we've already done for the Bowles Creek, that's completed, and now the NEPA is complete. Well, the NEPA was completed under the CDBG planning document, but the rest of the permits and easements are wrapping up as well. So it's basically shovel ready. They can apply for public services, economic development grants for local businesses, housing rehabilitation projects, infrastructure projects, which this is an infrastructure project, a public facility improvement grant, or other types of projects similar to that. The total number of jurisdictions can submit a total of 3 applications, one from pretty much each one of those categories. The total limit for a jurisdiction can be 3.6 million for the entire three. If they're going to do 3, or if you do 1, you can do 1 within limits. So a planning public service, that application cannot exceed $300,000. The project, so that would be the example of the Bowles Creek project, would be 3.3 million. And the program application limit would be 1.5 million. We did get an update of how the NOFA is going to be released. It is going to be released sometime this summer. They're saying maybe July, but it's HCD. We don't want to take them at their word necessarily until we see it with our eyes. They did say that they're going to have a 60-day period where when they drop the NOFA, it'll be a review period. And once that review period is open, you'll have another 60 days to submit the application. And unlike last year, it will not, none of the applications are supposed to be first come, first serve. They're all going to be scored on a competitive basis. I don't know what that scoring is yet. We won't know that until the NOFA comes out. Great Northern's the subrecipient. We're assisting writing the grant. And we'll also be assisting implementing it for the grant side of things. Pace Engineering will be the contractor not the contractor, but the engineer on the project. Bowles Creek is what Chris was stating, has a issue with bottleneck and flooding. So that's proposed to alleviate that issue. We don't have a final budget yet. Pace is still working on that budget, but we're estimating somewhere around 3 million. So it's well with under that budget cap that is probably going to be set by HCD. There's not going to be any displacement of individuals for this project. It might keep people in their homes and businesses in their homes because they won't be flooded. Weed has benefited from quite a number of CDBG projects in the past. The 2 most recent ones are the city water line and the SCADA system, which we're wrapping up. And then we also were conditionally awarded, and I don't know the update on that. They should have received the award notification. And here we should receive shortly the standard agreement to execute the master plan for infrastructure improvements in the Lake and the Heights neighborhood. So that's all I have. I can answer any questions anybody has.
What constitutes public facility improvement?
Any sort of building that the public uses. So it cannot be City Hall, because city business goes on in City Hall. It's a government building. If the library is owned by a government entity, a library can be upgraded.
So for me is, Great Northern does this for the admin and application fee. Is that is that how this works for you?
Currently, we're getting paid through the existing 22 CDBG HA 00015 grant because there's enough general administration in that grant to be paid for writing the grant and assisting with submitting that grant. So we're not actually we're not spending pre-award dollars to submit the grant.
Okay. And then we need to pay Pace Engineering as well, right? And that's also in a separate grant, or is that the?
Your Pace Engineering, I would imagine, I don't know how your guys' contract is working with them for assisting with putting together the budget, but I believe once, Chris can speak to this, and that once the contract, the standard agreement is in place, then you have a work order with them on top of your existing contracts for services agreement.
So I'll follow that up with Chris in a minute, but Bowles Creek, right at the juncture there, are you talking about the juncture above where the Main Street and East Lake Street meet, or are we talking at that juncture?
No, at that juncture. So you got that, we have that creek that runs right along that old Les Schwab building. That's the one that's gonna actually get replaced.
Okay. So that area is also in the National Flood Zone. So doesn't the Corps of Engineers have to give approvals on that?
Yes, and they have. That was part of the permitting process.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay. And they said they could do that for $3.3 million.
3 million, the last budget we had was actually under 3, but budget was 2 years old. So Pace is currently working on that. And they know the budget is 3.3 million, or we assume it's 3.3 million.
Are we gonna do anything with where Bowles Creek splits off? There's Bowles Creek that comes down, but there's also a spot where it splits off when there's a lot of water, and that water goes underneath the Travelers.
No, so what it's doing is it's basically starting at the Ripon Bridge, the bridge there on Ripon Way that goes behind Hilo.
Okay.
And it's ending just on the other side of Main Street, right next to Hecker's old building.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
It's a branch of Bowles Creek. Something that's a different branch. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Do we have any public comments on the item?
It's a public hearing, so
All right, well, seeing as there's been no public comments or other opponents or proponents of the project, unless there's any questions here, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you. All right, any further city council discussion on the project?
I'd like to see the numbers, because if I remember correctly, and I'm trying to think, it was Charlie Bird and can't remember the CM at the time. But that was over $2 million then, and that's 25 years ago. So I would like to see the numbers on that one. That's the only thing that I'm concerned about, is that I know that when we've delayed projects in the past, they didn't go down. So I would just like to make sure that we see the numbers.
Yeah, so before we'll actually come back to city council to adopt the resolution, and at that time, it'll have the budget for the entire project. And the 3 million also would include Pace's fee and our fee as well.
Okay,
So, but yeah, no, there'll be a detailed budget that will back up the resolution that you'll have to approve, which will also designate the authorized signer and who's going to submit the pay requests and who can submit the application. So
Okay.
at that time. And, but we can't do that until the NOFA comes out and we know what's going on until PACE actually gets us
okay.
a budget, an estimated budget. And then so far they've been pretty good. I haven't worked on a project yet that they have been, their estimates have been too low. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, seeing as we don't have a budget or resolution, is there any action to take at this point, or is this information only for the public hearing? Okay. All right, well, seeing as there's no public comments and the hearing's closed, we'll now move on to council business. Item A, Measure O Committee. By motion, council will consider an appointment to the Measure O Committee Advisory Committee of one person for an open seat.
And I can introduce Neva Barnett. She said she would like to volunteer for the Measure O Committee.
Yeah.
Neva she can explain, she's been part of the city a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago. Hi, I'm Neva Barnett. Yeah, you've upgraded some things in here since I've been here, but there are some issues that are still going on. That creek underneath the Louis tires. Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm glad to see that's being addressed. Yes, Ken had contacted me about this committee, which I didn't even know existed at the time. But when I heard of what it is used for, I think it's our resource of the library, the senior meals, the community resource center are vital to our community right now. We've, without a local paper, we've lost a lot of ways to be in contact with each other and interact with each other. And I know I've used the library and the communities. I just think it's a vital services.
Thank you.
So I would be honored to serve on the committee because I heard it only meets twice a year. Oh, you were kidding.
More if you like. I mean, you talk them into it. Any questions from the council? Because I think Melissa was on the board for a while.
Good luck. Oh, thank you. How long has the committee been in
2 years
serving?
now.
3 years, 4
3
years?
years,
Something like that?
2.5. Yeah,
Since we first, Darrell and I were.
yeah, so about 2.5 years.
Okay,
So we don't need a motion. You can appoint.
I do need a motion. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Neva.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
from the Metro
thank you.
Committee.
Thanks for
And
sharing.
my only comment, some of you council members, get on your mic. It's hard, well, it's hard to hear you back here.
Did you not hear me? Everybody can hear me. And never, that was like 2 overnight meetings.
Oh.
So just bring,
You wait until
yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Neva.
All right, item B, Public Works by motion. Council will consider approving resolution number 18-2025. Authorizing staff to apply for USDA lending in the amount of $6,875,000 for the Shastina wastewater treatment plant improvement project, which is the South Weed Line, and authorize the city manager to execute required documents.
Yes, council. So tonight I'm seeking permission to apply for this loan to improve the wastewater treatment plant, the Shastina system that feeds from Division on south. Right now, we cannot take any more new development or housing at this time. The design capacity for the treatment plant is at 295,000 gallons a day. Right now, we are taking in 430,000 gallons a day. With this upgrade that we will be doing with the loan, it will push our capacity up to 800,000 gallons a day. Curtis was, there's a map in your packet that Curtis created that shows you the upgrades that would take place in this, with this loan. So it would, we would have emergency overflow improvements. We'd be replacing the effluent pumps. We'd be lining ponds 1 and 2. We would be upgrading our current aeration system in our ponds, on top of adding more. We will be putting in a backup generator for out there, just in case of an emergency. We won't be dealing with what we went through with the 2 fires. It will be also replacing the headworks at the plant as well. This is a project that is very much needed. Once we will have to have a utility rate study done before the project is completed. This will open up a utility rate study. Curtis is here tonight. If you have any questions for either him or myself.
All right. Do we have any questions from council? Because I know I've been following this very closely.
No, because I'm close to what's going on, so.
So
About the hat.
I would only like to make the statement, should we advise now what that $6.8 million loan would cost our citizens potentially?
So that's the thing. We can't do that until we do the rate study. And plus, once we do apply for this loan, USDA might, we might be awarded a little bit of grant money. That is not for certain yet.
Okay.
So right now we cannot say.
All right.
I just want to ask, our current wastewater system, if you were to be able to tell the general public how old it is, what are we talking about?
Oh, man. Curtis, I know we found some set of plans from the IP days? The International Paper Company days?
It was 1950s if I
Yeah, it was like in the 50s when that plant was built.
Okay, and essentially the upgrades have been neglected and haven't been taken care of until now.
That's correct.
And so you say this is a much needed project. I'd like to say it another way. This is whether or not
Yes.
our city will continue to thrive and have toilets that flush.
That's correct, because we're quite lucky that the state has not came down on us yet. Luckily, we are still meeting the testing requirements, but it's just a matter of time before the state will come down and start handing us fines.
And I just want to thank you for your work on this and making it very clear to all of the city council members. We've had more education in wastewater than I ever thought that I would have. But thank you for your detailed work on it. And I just want to be sure there's not very many questions that I have, but it's because you've answered them. And really, if there's anyone in the community that has a question why we have to take out a $6 billion loan, I invite them to hit up my email because I definitely would have some information to share.
Yes, and I'd also like to thank Curtis for all the work that he's put into this. Curtis has worked real hard on trying to hurry up and get this taken care of for us, put everything together.
Before our miracle system breaks.
Yes.
So what are we looking for? No, go ahead.
So how long is relatively you think that this will help us into after work? So how long do you think before this project can be implemented and get it going?
2027, Curtis? Yes, start would be 2027, completion where we will be looking at 2028.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Not soon enough.
Yes.
not
How about
soon
tomorrow?
Shovel's ready.
Right. Any other questions from council?
If we don't get this, like I said, it'll be catastrophic for the citizens, but we also will never grow any farther than what we are now. And we're already down, our population's down by someone told me around 1,000. And that's not good. That's
One-
less income that's coming in. We need housing. There's just a lot of things that have been going on that hadn't been addressed, and this council gets the pleasure of putting it right on the back road again, and hopefully we can push this forward. And everybody up here has worked their butts off to get us where it's at, and we know what all staff has done to get us to this point and pace. So just bear with us, bear with the city, and in the long run, I probably won't be here when it's all done, but you'll have a nice new city.
On for the people in the audience and the 7 people that watch us on YouTube, to clarify what we're talking about here, because not everybody in the public has the privilege of all the meetings and hours the staff and council have put in on this. We cannot build anything from Division Street South. And so that means Bel Air, that means South Weed. That stops us from adding in new businesses, new homes to those areas of town. This is critical infrastructure, not just for the existing residents and businesses, but so that we can grow in the future. This is not something that we took into lightly to go into, taking a loan for $6 million. With that said, is there any public comment? All
I think
right.
everybody would be dumbstruck by now, right?
Pelted with rocks.
Only a few million.
Nobody run to their restroom and keep flushing their toilet, please.
Yeah. And that's something that, to be said, if you have, leaky fixtures, toilets, faucets and things, please repair those, because you're adding and contributing to that wastewater stream significantly.
Do you need a motion?
I will entertain a motion.
I would move to consider approving resolution number 18/2025, authorizing staff to apply for the USD lending in the amount of $6,875,000 for the Shastina wastewater treatment plant improvement project, and authorize the city manager to execute the required documents.
I will second that.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to item C, finance by motion. Council will consider adoption of resolution number 19-2025, adopting the proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 to 2026.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'd like to present you with the budget that we've been working on for adoption tonight for fiscal year 26, starting July 1st. We had some challenges this budget year, and I think we all put our heads together and worked really hard to come up with some solutions and try to allocate scarce resources and prioritize those to the projects and issues that needed to be taken care of most urgently. It's not the prettiest looking budget, but I think we've done a good job with coming up with solutions. We know what our challenges are. We know what we're dealing with going forward. And at this time, I'd just like to open it up to see if you have any questions or would like me to elaborate on anything.
I would just like to say again that the council here has sat through a few hours of budget hearings. Our ad hoc committee will add a couple more to that one, and sometimes for the most time when people do show up, I just have to add that because I missed a meeting. So for me, it would be again with the same thing. If the public has questions and comments on these budgets, there's a lot of numbers. Items are out there. If they have questions, they should call and ask a council member. And if we don't know, we will find out and give you answers.
Jill, I have a more direct question.
Yep.
I think staff has done a wonderful job being positive, finding solutions rather than harping on the problems of the city. And that goes to all the staff. I think you're incredible in maintaining positivity, but the way that this budget looks, if there are not corrections, do you see the city becoming or in major trouble?
I see that we need to do a pretty major course correction within the next couple of years. And we've discussed some direction for that. If a course correction is not done, I feel that there's going to need to be a major reorganization at the city of Weed.
Okay, and major organization would be, we are concerned about our current employees.
There will be a loss in city services because we will not be able to fund all of the employees and services that we are now providing for the city.
And to break that down for somebody in the community who's listening, you're talking about an operational police department that has full staff, a fire department who is meeting the needs of our community, our public works division, who, quite frankly, I don't know how they hold things together. Those are the services we're talking about are going to have to be cut if we don't make this course correction.
That is absolutely right. And I would encourage if the budget is adopted tonight, it will be posted on our website online. I would encourage you to go on there, anyone who hasn't seen it, and look at some of the statistics, look at what the department heads have said about their department, look at the number of public works projects going on. There's so much going on with this city, and a loss of staff would be devastating we just wouldn't be able to continue what we're doing.
So what I'm hearing from you is we've managed to cobble together a budget for this year, but we are looking at major concerns for our police department, our fire department, our public works division, the ability to use wastewater, to have a roof on City Hall, which for those of you who haven't been down to City Hall, that's a roof on our police department. An evidence room that is in dire need of some attention, a police department that at least is polished enough to attract law enforcement officers who want to work for the city, and that major course correction, whatever it may be, it's up to the city council to figure out how we can generate more income to be able to sustain those.
Yes, we have just a lot of cans that have been kicked down the road that have really come to fruition within the last few months. And as Chris talked about with the sewer improvement project, just things and the roof, so many things that have to be dealt with that we're really at the end of the rope. So it's not pretty this year, but we just got to keep moving forward.
One thing I'd point out to the council is that none of the departments, City Hall, Fire, Public Works, or Police, there are no frivolous capital outlay. There's no capital outlay projects in the budget. So that's new public works, new fire equipment, new equipment for public works, whether it be heavy equipment or pickups. None of that is in any of the departments. And there are needs there that aren't being met. They're being put off for another year. They've been put off in the past, but eventually those will catch up to everybody.
I want to say something, but I better not, but Jill has just kind of taken this on in Sandy. Everybody sitting there has participated and made this thing. This is a tough thing that I'm watching. When I was elected, I didn't see this coming. And then I find out it's something that's been going on for a long time. And now, they've grabbed the bull by the horns and they're going to take care of business. And it's not one person or one administration. It's just a accumulation of a lot of different things. But I want to say you know, we talked about the staff, but I want to talk about Christina and Jamie and Roxanne and the staff that's every day there too in that front that's working their behinds off, you know, getting some of the flack for it and so on. So they don't get enough credit either, that they're working their butts off in there. And I've worked with them for a few years and they do a good job. Everyone, the department heads has a really good staff. Every one of the department heads have a very good staff there. And so now it's time we need to put it all together and take what we have coming and move forward. But I think this is a very good plan. And as soon as we can get going with this, the sooner we're gonna get done with it. But there'll be bumps and curves in the road, but now we know. Now we have insight on exactly where we're at. So the only thing I can say is that we have to continue on as a council and everyone as a department, and then hopefully the citizens will stand behind it, have some understanding with it, and ask questions. If I don't have the answer, I'll take you right to her or to him. I mean, it's something that you guys have to do. The public, you know, you have a right to know. And I've always thought that. So now's your chance. But anyway, thank you guys for everything, everyone in. David too.
So we're on the right road. That's my opinion. We kind of doom and gloomed it for a couple budget meetings, but I think we came up with
Well.
adequate solutions. Thanks to the staff, like everybody said here in jail.
At the end of the day, we've had decades of neglect or, I guess, kick the can down the roadisms that have gone on. And now, we have
And
a staff and a
faltered.
council who's willing to grab the bull by the horns, as has been said, to make the corrections that need to be made. So it's gonna be, not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be worthwhile.
Agreed.
All right, any questions or comments regarding the budget?
Public comment?
Do we have any public comment? It's rare to have a public and even rarer to not have comment, so.
I move to consider adoption of resolution number 19/2025, adopting the proposed budget for the fiscal year 25-26.
I'll second. Okay, Mark. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next we'll move on to item D, transient occupancy tax. By motion, council will consider requests for TOT and approve allocations. Before we begin, would like to publicly inform that I am involved with the Chamber of Commerce on the board level in a non-paid position. So that's same as last time we did this budget. We have any other council members that have declarations to make for?
I am a
Profits?
member of the community, I am the president of the Community Resource Collaborative in Siskiyou County. And also a member of the JPA, although I don't think they're asking for funding. So do I announce that?
Not if they're not asking for
No, no,
funding.
okay.
So I would just ask that those disclosures be included on the minutes for the official record. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Where's Vanna? The thing is you knew who I was talking. Vanna. She's still on TV.
Let's say our technology is much more sophisticated than how this used to be done.
We got 3 minutes? Okay, go.
Very interesting variations here.
I like that blind request though, CM1, CM2. That's a new one. spin the wheel. Okay.
Good to me. Can't make everybody happy. But you can only go as far as what's allocated.
Public comment? Beginning?
Any council discussions on the allocations? Do we have public comment before we move forward?
I mean, if the council has no questions, then I guess you would want to explain what the procedure that you guys are going to be undertaking this evening.
Well, normally there's proponents from each of the projects come forward to explain their funding requests. So do we have any proponents out there that want to? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Irvine. I'm the Executive Director of the Weed Chamber of Commerce. This is Susie. She handles memberships and sponsorships. And this is Glenda, our bookkeeper. I'm sure you all know Glenda. She was a past director also. I can't believe that it's been over a year since I took this position. I have learned so much about our community. I have made friends with many of you. We have a great staff, which I just introduced. We all have the community of weed, business and personal, as our biggest priority and best interests. We are the hub for information, promoting local businesses and attraction to visitors from all over the world. We help drive revenue to restaurants, lodging, retail, outdoor adventures. We offer maps, brochures, recommendations while providing space for locals to learn about their own community. We are under the arch, one of the most photographed spots with the mystical mountain in the background. Of course, tourists always ask us about the name. They enjoy the story of Abner Weed and like the big pictures of weed that we have in the cabin. We also offer them information on small business loans, relocating, love to talk about our great schools, which there is a lot of support there. We do bulk mail, copies, faxes. We are part of the Volcanic Legacy Scenic Byway, combining I-5 with Highway 97, the beginning of the Alaskan Highway. We offer road conditions and weather reports. The Chamber and Visitor Centers promote local events to help local businesses in turn bring people into weed from surrounding areas. We put on 8 events per year, and that promotes more businesses to our community. We have been working with Siskiyou Economical Development and RCAC to help revitalize weed. We will start small and hopefully work our way up. We will be meeting with the bowling alley and the Mercantile. We did meet with the bowling alley. The Mercantile weren't there when we went. And it looks like we will be starting a project hopefully with the bowling alley at the front of their building. I have been working on the City of Weed hanging flower baskets. It's a major undertaking, but rewarding. We also run the program with AARP, who pays a senior to water the plants. Chris said that maybe tomorrow they'll get the rest of the flowers out of my backyard at the cabin and get them in some sunshine. The continued operation of the visitor center is a vital link with the city and community alike. Visitor centers are where travelers and vacationers get their taste of the area. The more information and knowledgeable, friendly assistant you give, the more you get in return. We cannot do this without the city's help. We want to make Weed that destination place together, and we can make that happen. We have been asking for 53,000. Thank you so much for all your support and the friendship. Thank you. Any questions? I'm sure you guys know about us, but
I'll come in and visit with you.
okay,
I haven't been down there yet.
we'd love to give you our routine. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Flower.
Yes, thank you. And by the way, the new city manager will need to take that over next year. Because I'm spending hours and hours on that. I loved what I did, but it was way more work than I expected, and my family's been involved. We come every morning and water because we have no water at Heritage Park right now, so the little gal who pushes the cart, she can't do it by, have to go clear back up to the cabin to refill. And we're in dire need of getting that water back to Heritage for the plants.
How long has it been out?
Ever since they started the,
Yes,
That's
so, one thing that ended up happening is when we went ahead and killed the old water main, it affected the tree wells in Heritage Plaza. We are working with Timberworks to try to get those hooked up, and I know that they're working on it all week to get everything reconnected. I was out of the office today, so I do not have an update for you today on where they're at on that.
No, you gotta get it as soon as you can.
That's the last time I show you where those water mains are.
does anybody know where there's another faucet downtown?
Not that, there's one on Joe Gannon's old building. It's on the outside. I used to fill the bottles up and fill them with a bottle, and go from tree to tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So-
Really? My wife used to go, again.
Again. Yeah, we sure could use some water though. We're gonna try to get the lady back to, once Chris gets all the there's only 10 poles done right now. And all the plants are ready to go up. So that makes 20, there's 40. 24. Yeah, 24 poles.
You've been taking care of the plants then?
I planted them. I did it all, and
Baskets that were put out before with the plants?
right, I did it all. They brought me baskets, the baskets back to the cabin. They had the liners in them, the old liners, and so I decided to try to keep most of them, which we did. I had to soak them all in bleach, lay them out on the pavement, then spend several minutes on each one, rinsing out all the Clorox. And then I had bought new liners, rolls of liners, so I put them inside of the old liners. So they have extra liners this year, so they
So were
hopefully.
they just? What was wrong with them?
They had mold. And Tim said we need to throw them away, but I looked it up and there was a way to save them, so I did.
So I'll just add, she's saved a significant amount of money by putting her own labor in the chamber. Yeah. It
I
was,
just want to thank my family because they have helped me. My husband comes every morning.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I
You're
would like to also offer. Last year, I think it was last year, AARP gave a worker, have you?
Right, I'm in charge of that.
Okay,
She's ready to go. It's just that it's hard for her to have to go clear back to the cabin to fill. It takes
Okay.
2 tanks to water the plants. So that would mean she would water one side and then she'd have to go all the way back to get water. And she's elderly, so you have to be on AARP coverage. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what to do about her because she's ready
How often are you watering them?
every day right now. Because I want them to catch hold. And we did have some very hot weather. We did have the one night of rain that I didn't have to water, so
So every day you're watering those plants?
7 o'clock.
Mark, there's something else besides working you can
Well, I'm
do.
in my brain's working. I don't know if my mouth is gonna. I'm trying to think of something.
If we could get a
Yeah,
faucet.
where That was only charge of. Let me think about it.
Okay.
Help you.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Little cart.
Or motorbike.
Well,
That would be dangerous.
are there any change in allocations council members would like to make to their requests?
Oh, fun. And that stuff. But, we didn't.
I think I'm kind of okay, but I'm looking at based on my organization, we're fine. I'm concerned about the chamber.
Oh, I can tell you there's several organizations based on this year's allocation are be cutting major services. But that's just the way things are economically. There's not enough money to go around.
Go by what I did last year compared to what I do this year. There's just numbers I'm curious about.
Well, definitely nobody got what they wanted. That's,
This is true.
Exactly.
nobody got what they wanted, that's for sure. But that comes when the time was, I think wasn't last year, we had a lot more money because we had that year and a half. That was also something that was that the year before? Okay.
You know, the big issue is TOT is down overall with closed hotels and whatnot, so.
Look at what it was last year.
What was the amount last year? That was projected for this year.
Right.
What was
What was last year's?
That's in, okay.
Last year's dollar amount for allocation, it was 76, yeah,
Yeah.
right about.
Not that much.
56 now, right? 57, goes down.
The only thing I would add to this is I've been a opponent of the city of Weed actually kind of taking from the TOT, and I know other communities do whatever they do, but what I would like to see is, and we discussed about this at budget before, I think the last time, at least I had a small conversation with Justin, is that we need to change our ordinances so that people that go into events, either whether you're holding them, but if you need security, that needs to be handled by the event person through the permitting process and not through the TOT process. That's kind of my feeling, is that those who have the events need to pay as you go. Now, some of those same people are in here. So this kind of swamp, but still overall, it comes to mind is we had the one cannabis shop wanted to have closed for a week. We wanted the other cannabis shop wanted 4 and 20 or whatever they called it. But there are other events.
We receive requests regularly for extra police. We had one just today. But that's not just for my department, that's fire department, public works as well. The setup of the stage is, it doesn't even, when we do charge, it doesn't even cover the setup. You know, one of the more recent
But I'm saying,
requests
we organize.
was $1,500 was what it was going to cost to set up the stage. That's minus $1,300 because there's a.
Right, and really, it's too late in the year to allocate much kind of intervention with the Carnivale issue. But as you move along to come up with something that the person that holds the event figures that into their event charges. So
Right,
if
that's
it's a
something we have
21st
discussed is they
so-
need to set up some sort of established fee structure for somebody that wants, you know,
Well,
police,
I think should be just.
but it
normal-
needs to carry over to also public works into the use of the trucks, the traffic cones. I mean, that's, other cities do that as well. So that's something that needs to be established.
And that's the way I'm thinking of it, so. It takes it out of the TOT process. But it doesn't short public works or short PD or the fire, whoever's has to be there. So I would like to see if you guys could come up with some numbers. We would have to do an ordinance, right? Of some sort, to keep you busy.
I think you're just saying that we need to create a fee schedule for encroachment permits, which basically every other city has.
He's doing it already, yeah, so it's not a miracle, but.
Is that by
A
word?
fee schedule can be adopted by resolution,
Okay,
and we are working on an encroachment permit ordinance right now.
oh, are you? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys are working on it. All you had to say was, we're working on it.
Well, right,
Yeah.
but those are discussions that we've had in the past, but
Okay. Perfect.
All right, well, it sounds like there's no changes from each council member on their allocations,
I would allocate a lot there anyways.
so.
Move to adopt a TOT and approve the allocations as is.
Are we running with the averages?
Average or,
Oh, I don't know. What are we doing?
Well, the average is what would be going based on the allocations the council members have made.
Mhm.
So if there are no changes from council members to move from one to another, then the average column there in the column J is what would be going to each of those organizations. Based on the funds available.
so any council member could right now make some revisions to their
Exactly.
list, which will affect the average. So then, Councilmember Wetstein, is that a motion to adopt the current average as presented?
Yes.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of adopting the averages presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll go aye. I'm struggling.
Do we need a roll call vote for this?
No, it's fine. I'm good.
Was that on the yays or the nays?
That's a yay.
Okay.
All right, well, motion carries. That was unanimous. All right, we'll move on now to staff reports. And Chief Carter?
I'll go first. All right, this last month, we responded to 70 calls for emergencies covered by 2 full-time personnel, 4 resident firefighters and 1 volunteer. We do have 1 new resident firefighter moving in at the end of this month. We completed 108 hours of department training. We completed 4 fire and life safety inspections, working with the building department, 21 defensible space inspections. This Tuesday, I went up to Cascade Fire Equipment to check on the progress of our new engine, and it looks like it's still on track to be delivered by the end of this month. We've responded to multiple vegetation fires over this last month. It's getting hotter and drier, but we're always happy to see the hard work and coordination working with our other local agencies. I believe Wednesday, we received a donation from Crystal Geyser for the purchase of many items, including some radios, some equipment we need for fitness related stuff required to respond to certain emergencies, and a few other items. I spoke with Stephen Decatur from Dunsmuir City. about creating a Firewise community. They've been successful down there. And he gave me a lot of good information. And basically, in summary, the Firewise community is created from within the community with leaders in the community, not necessarily something that comes from the fire department. We're more of a supportive role in that. And I did email all of you some information regarding that. When you get a chance, you can take a look at that. But for the next month, I'll be working on researching more of the fire hazard severity maps. We'll be getting the CEQA and bids started for our fuel mitigation project now that we have that agreement with the Shasta Valley RCD. So thank you for that. And talking to community members with the Firewise community. And then the last thing is this week we've been assisting with a kids fire camp that's going on at COS. There's about 60 kids, I believe, starting at around 8 years old to 13 or 14. So it's been fun. Good opportunity to just kind of show them and give them the opportunity to experience different activities related to the fire service. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you been going out and going around looking for the long grass for people's houses and backyards? And like you've been doing it for years, and you go around and make sure everybody, the property owners are cutting down the grass. Like, for instance, behind my house back there, behind where the Green Church was, that's way up. And I know that at least some of these is sort of done. Not just mine, that whole area there. I'm just wondering if you guys are going out doing that and sending letters out.
Yeah. When I mentioned that we completed 21 defensible space inspections, those are included in that. The defensible space inspection is those. So I sent out 21 letters to property owners to start cutting back their grasses and removing dead vegetation from around their houses. But we kind of do it in a kind of area by area. So we'll keep working along.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's included.
I'll see you guys. It's out TMZ or letters. It's probably usually the same people that you have to send the letters to every year.
It varies, but yeah, there's usually more of the empty lots or larger lots are the ones that we have on a normal basis. Over the years, though, we've had quite a bit of success of people working with us and taking it seriously and working on it to get everything cleared up. So
Appreciate that.
yeah.
I've cut my area down twice already because I
Yeah.
didn't want that letter, but I ain't that down on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just ask a few questions about Firewise. I know that the California Fair Plan offers a percentage discount on a Firewise community. Is that consistent with what your research was?
Yes, after speaking with Steven too, he advised me that the California Fair Plan is the only one that provides a percentage, and theirs is 10%. Other insurance companies vary. I know some of my family members live in McLeod, and theirs was $10. So it just varies depending on the insurance company. But there is a state law that says that insurance companies shall give a discount, but it does not state how much that discount is.
So if somebody is willing to put together a Firewise committee, I assume that the volunteer department of the city of Weed could provide them guidance on the steps that they have to take to be able to get us up to speed, to be able to get that 10% if people are on the California Fair Plan.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be our role, is supportive and kind of a advisory, able to push the committee in the right direction to become a Firewise community.
So.
I would tell you that it's usually based upon, there's several ways to do it. One is through clearing property. And the second is how much money the group, you can set it up in sections. And if there's a certain section that spends enough money on clearing land or making something fire safe, you can also qualify with a smaller group. But I will tell you, he's right. The discounts vary from 1% to 10%. It's in some cases, people are expecting a lot more than they get. It's really disappointed business.
And with talking to Dunsmuir, they've been successful. They were the first community in Siskiyou County. And there's a group of people creating a Firewise community in Hammond Ranch, and that one would kind of marry up to where a potential Firewise community would be in the city of Weed as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of volunteer hours essentially from the committee that create projects, community projects. But the work you do on your own property can count towards those volunteer hours. And it's all stored online on the Firewise website. And that's what they use. And like Stephen was saying, the hardest part is starting. And once you get started, it's relatively easy to keep it going, but there's just a lot of steps to get it started. But yeah.
So if any of our 6 people are listening and somebody wants to start up Firewire, seven people, to benefit your community, I think it would be a wonderful project to take on.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Director Porterfield.
So I would also like to join Mark in thanking my staff, Jamie and Christina, because they've worked very hard. We're at the end, we've got one major module to implement on our software implementation. We have a parallel in 2 weeks on the utility billing module, and we expect to go live on that in July. So it's nice to see a light at the end of the tunnel. But they've been working very hard in helping me get that implemented. I'm to the point where I actually think next week I'm probably going to start back working on audit again, because now we're behind on audits. So, yeah, but that's about all we got going on, just moving forward. Yep. So.
Director Davis.
Yes, so as you already know, Timberworks has been busy on Main Street trying to reconnect those tree wells and Heritage Plaza and the drinking fountain. They will be moving back to the boulevard to continue the water line down South Weed Boulevard. And we're just about have completed our mowing for the first go around. It will be mowed again later on this year.
Chief Mayberry.
A couple things on June 6th, we received, well, actually a couple days before that, was short notice requesting us to participate in the Butteville Field Day. The fire department and ourselves were able to work our schedules to accommodate that short notice request and go out there and participate in their year-end festivities out there. On June 19th, we'll be having let me bring it up here. We'll be having the rabies clinic here at City Hall from 3:30 to 5:30. Parvo and distemper will also be available. Dogs need to be on a leash, cats need to be in a carrier. The rabies vaccine will be $15 per animal. And then I think that's about it for the police department. So.
All right. Thank you. City Clerk Tukey.
No report.
Okay, and City Attorney, Mr. Ruderman.
I did attend the League of California Cities City Attorney Conference in Burlingame. That was where I was at the last meeting, so we had a very good conference. It was actually the most well-attended City Attorneys Conference that the league has put on, which was nice. One of the interesting sessions, don't know how relevant it is right now to the city of Weed, although you are looking for sources of revenue. The latest area of taxing in the tax wars is taxes on streaming services. So there are a number of cities, I think Santa Barbara is taking the lead, that have utility user taxes that they are, and franchise fees on broadcasting, which we have. And they are applying those to streaming services because so many people are cutting the cord to cable and they're going to streaming. And so there's a large loss of revenue. And so Santa Barbara is currently in litigation with Disney over their attempts to tax people's streaming services. So that's an interesting. Also, a really good panel on cybersecurity and some lessons that some cities have had who have been the victim of ransomware attacks. So that's not going to happen here, of course, but did get some good background on ways to avoid or mitigate risk related to that. So all in all, it was a very good conference, and I thank the council for allowing me to Zoom in last time in order to attend it.
And city manager, any additional reporting there?
Nothing additional, but I know the property you're talking about with the tall grass. We'll get with the fire department. That out-of-state owner actually happened to be in town this week, so it'd be a good time to give them a notification. So.
I'll talk to you later on, okay.
I'll take in my list, my neighborhood. So for anybody that's listening in my neighborhood, Mo.
All right, next is to adjourn to closed session.
Closed session.
Second that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are here, so adjourned to closed session.
I even printed one in color.